welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we're showing you a really great recipe for dill pickles. Now this is a fermented pickle. A lot of people don't realize that the sour taste of dill pickles actually comes from the fermentation process and not from vinegar. It comes from that natural fermentation along with some of the aromatics that are used, as we're going to see in this recipe here. So let's get started with some ingredients. So of course we're going to have some dill pickles, these little pickling pickles. We have some mustard seed, some coriander. We've got a little bit of hot pepper in there. That's some of our dried hot peppers. Kosher salt, a great deal of kosher salt, and as you saw back there, we also have some dill tips. That's the seed as it's going to seed. So first we're going to start with our brine. So starting with our kosher salt and about half of our water. So we're going to boil the water with about half of the salt, and we're just going to make sure that that's all completely dissolved. And then once it is, we're going to add it back to the cold water that we have set aside, and that will bring the temperature back down faster. We don't want to cook the pickles, but we do want our brine to be completely dissolved. So we're just going to give that a little stir. While that is boiling and starting to dissolve, we're going to give our pickles a wash. Now, the fermentation requires the lactobacilli that lives on the outside of produce, which is why you want to buy local and why you want to try and get as close to as you can to home. Imported is sometimes irradiated, which destroys the lactobacilli. So we do want to give it a wash, but we don't want to peel it. If we have to peel them, usually that means we need some kind of other inoculant, but we don't want bits of dirt in there. So please make sure to keep those little end bits clean. Any dried up soil on there, and any dead bits. If the little bit of flour is stuck to the one end of the pickle, you do want to get rid of that as well. Yeah, just a good solid vegetable brush, just to give those a good scrubbing and a good cleaning without peeling them, and that should be just fine. Of course, I'm not going to show all of that. Okay, so our brine is completely dissolved now. You can see it boiling here. Now we don't want to boil it away, so we're going to turn off the heat, and we're going to add that hot brine back to the cold water. Here's the water we reserved earlier, mixed back with the brine. So that is now going to be our brine. We're just trying to bring that temperature right back down. So, very easy now. All we have left to do is to build our jar. So we're going to pop in one of our 2 chili peppers, about half of our aromatics in there. So one of our dill heads, some of those mustard seeds and coriander seeds. And you want to pack these as close as possible. I mean, keep them organized in there. You want to be able to keep them as close as you can, as much room taken up as possible with your veggies. And intersperse your seasonings. So you want a little bit on the bottom, and then when you do a second layer, put a little bit more. Finish with a dill head on top as well. Then once that's all set and your brine is back to room temperature, it doesn't have to be chilled, but it should be room temperature, you're going to add that in there. And you want to make sure everything's nicely covered in there. If you see one floating to the top, just try and tuck it back in underneath the shoulder so that it all stays submerged in there. Give it a little tap, try to get rid of any bubbles if there are any, and if you need to, you can always weigh down the topmost vegetables with, we usually use a slice of onion just to keep everything under the brine, or cabbage stems are frequently used. Those are especially popular when making sauerkraut. And that's it. Now, that's going to sit at room temperature for up to a week, just to get the fermentation started. And then you'll see it start to get a little bit cloudy. If you notice a scum forming on the top, that's just a little bit of yeast, and you can just scrape that off. That is just fine. You will see some carbon dioxide bubble up, which is why you don't want to lid the pickles really tightly. And once the fermentation has started, you're going to refrigerate those pickles. It'll really slow down the fermentation, but keep in mind this is a living fermenting food, and the flavor is going to change slowly as it goes. So if there's a cool place like a cellar or basement that's similar to a fridge, it will encourage some more fermentation over the time. and they can sit in the fridge for a week before they're really ready to eat. And then, yeah, we eat them with all sorts of things. We slice them up, they go on sandwiches, they go on burgers. We slice them up and put them in our potato salad and our tuna salad, as you've seen. Yeah, they have a great lot of usage, so if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes that you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.